Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Decryption and I hope you are well. So I was reminiscing the other day, thinking of all the Flash games that we all used to spend ages playing all the time. Like the very good classic ones.
Frank's Adventure!
Like God's Playing Field, the one where you literally could buy upgrades to smash down on the floor. Or Stick RPG, do you remember that game? That was so good. Literally played as a guy earning minimum wage, kept working, build your house up, and then inevitably get into drugs and crime and become really rich. But those style games are always fun, and whilst we can't bring back the Flash era, we can always recreate some aspects from it. So in today's tutorial, I have made this epic Flash style game where we can add a old school arcadey shop where you play the game, you die, you go to the shop, you upgrade, you play the game a bit more, you die, you go back to the shop, and we repeat that loop. So let's get started. So this is the game I've made, and it's completely random. Everything from it is just crazy. I've even wrote my own handwriting in it, look. But if we just play the game now, you can see I've got to reach the end of the level and not die. I've put my own coins into it, a crypto coin, look. And then we can pick it up, and we've got a very, Flash style thing, minus the incredibly high detailed mannequin. But if we walk into the water, or lava, we die, and then we'll completely die, as you can see. So we need to be able to get across to there, but how can we do it? I have put some helpful signs into it. So if we jump over to this one over here. Oh, no, I died again. There, look. You can see, without a life boost, you're going to die. Okay, so we need to get a life boost. We can technically cheat the game a little, but you can't get very far after that. So, like, if I get all the way to the end, take a bit of damage and jump, oh my god, we've got past the first bit without an upgrade. You're not getting past the second bit. So we need to add upgrades into the game. When you die, you go to the shop to purchase some upgrades, because there's no way we're getting past there. So, we've got quite a few aspects that we need to handle. We need to be able to transport the player's details over to other levels, and then we also need to transport it back. So, for example, the upgrades I've got planned for stuff like increasing your health, so you can walk across there without dying, we're going to have to bring it back into the main level when we transport to the shop level. And there are multiple ways we can do it. We can create a save game and save and load from it. Or we can just make it this instance based and use a game instance, for example. So I think that's what we're going to do in this tutorial. We're going to use the game instance in order to keep the track of what the player's upgrades are and then apply it when we first get into the game. If you do want more of a permanent shop and less of an arcadey one shot goes kind of thing, then you can use a save game and create your own saved game, but I've covered that in a different tutorial. So the first thing we'll do is let's get started with the shop. So I'm going to come to a brand new empty level, and I'll save everything in this level. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create some sort of menu in here that allows us to display the shop, control it, and do everything we need. So I'm going to come and create a brand new game mode. So I'll come to my blueprints folder. I'll create a new folder called MISC, and inside here I'll right click blueprint class and I'll create a game mode base and I'll call it BP game shop game mode, and we'll allocate it here. And the reason we're creating a game mode is it allows us to create custom player controllers just for this level, so we don't have to deal with disabling the player's movement, their pawns and stuff like that. We can just have it completely separate basically. So now that we've got that, let's create a new player controller. So we'll right click blueprints and choose player controller, and I'll call it BP shop player controller. And all this is going to do is keep track of what menus are active and stuff like that. So now we can set our player controller on the game mode, and we can actually set the default pawn to none because we don't actually need it. And then let's save the level and I will call it shop. And now if we play the level, you'll notice nothing will happen. We're not falling, we can't move, nothing's visible. But that's exactly what we want, because now we can move into the UI. So I'm going to come back to my content drawer in my UI folder. I'll right click user interface widget blueprint, and I'll click user widget and I'll call it WB_shop. And I'll open it up. So straight away I'll come and add a canvas panel because that's what we typically do when we've got a main interface we're going to be dealing with. And here's where we need to start designing our shop's UI basically. So you could spend ages doing it. I've gone for the real classic Flash style. So I'm going to add an image for the background image. I'll make it full screen. And then the image I have done is a proper old school Famazon style display, as you can see. And I've just cleared out the middle part. So we can come and add this to the image, like so, and then we'll size it to content so it's nice and big, as you can see, and I'll put it bang on in the middle of the screen. So it'll be black around the edges, but the middle part will be perfectly visible, which is fine, because then if we increase our display size, it'll shrink and grow a little bit, so that's fine. So now that we've done this, we need the inside part, which is going to act as the website. I also have a fake away Amazon website from the era of, that. So what I'm going to do is, just so I've got something a little bit scrollable here, you can really do anything you want, but I'm going full on old school. I'm going to add a scroll box into it, and I'm going to center align it, and then I'm basically just going to stretch it up so it almost matches the monitor, almost perfect like so. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit out for me. I could have got a front-facing one, but I didn't, so that's fine. And then I will come and grab another image and stick it inside it to apply my website icon. There we go. As you can see, it's all there. If I just move the scroll box up a tiny bit on the sides just to cover it, there we go. We could even put the background image to the bottom, so it actually covers it up properly, as you can see. And now, if we compile and save, let's give it a test so far and just see if what we've done does basically work with the scrolling in the middle. So I'm going to come back to the player shop controller on the event graph. I'll delete the tick because we don't need it. On event begin play, all I'm literally going to do is create a widget, which will be our shop, and then I'm just going to add it to the viewport. That's it. The only other exception that you need to do, you need to drag off and set it to UI mode. Otherwise, you won't actually be able to do anything. And set the player controller to self, like so. We could even tell it which widget we're referencing, but it doesn't normally matter that much. We can just drag off to the side and do show mouse cursor, like so. Then we can tick it, click compile, save, and back to the shop. There we go. So now you can see I've got my mouse and I can drag around, but I can't scroll it yet. So let's go and have a look at the shop and see why. So we can't scroll it. I've got a feeling it might be something to do with the background image being on top. So let's come and look at the visible of the background image, and it's set to visible. So we don't want that. So I'm actually going to come and set it to non-hit testable self, which basically means it won't react to click events or anything, because that's exactly what we want. I'll also do the same for the actual website image, because we don't need that to do it either. And now I can come and click play, and you should see I can scroll down the fake website. So we're definitely going there. You could easily do this in 3D as well if you wanted to. I'm just going for the dead basic ones, like I said. So there you go. We've got all the Amazon websites here, and this is where we can now add in our Flash style shop in the search bar from Amazon, where we can add our upgrades. And as we click it, we can apply it, and then we can make sure the game adheres to it afterwards. So there are, of course, loads of different ways you can apply upgrades to your game, and it entirely depends on your game. So if you have the GAS game playability system built into your game, you're going to want to apply the upgrades via that method. If you don't, then it comes down to what style of upgrades you're going to. If you want like a bar where you have 10 things you can increment, then you may want to go with an integer-based route where you just store specific ints or something to say what they've unlocked. If you've got basic upgrades like what I've got on mine, then you'll be okay with doing some booleans or gameplay tags. And that's what I'm going to do in mine. I'm going to use gameplay tags to apply specific set upgrades to say whether or not the player has unlocked them. And then when it comes back round to the game, we can check if those tags exist and apply the upgrades before the player even starts the game. But when we get to the stages where we need to actually apply it, I will re-mention this so you know where to apply your integers or whatever means you need to. So how are we going to design all the upgrades to actually put on here? So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to create a data table which lists all the upgrades you can have and what they do. However, you could equally hard code it on here if you really wanted to. But I figured updating a data table and having this listen to it and then simply changing your player to tell it what to do is a lot easier than having to come in here and add a brand new UI, make sure it looks right and do everything you need. So I'm going to come to my content drawer, and in my blueprints I'll create a new folder called structure. And inside here, I will go right click blueprint structure, and I will call it s_player upgrades. And I'll open it up. So in here, what details do we actually want on it? So I'm going to put the upgrade name, and I'll set this to a text because then it can be translatable if you want it. I'll add a very rough description. That can also be a text. And I'll add a price. And this can be how much currency or points it'll take in your game. For me, I've got D3 coin, which is what I've just decided to make up for it. And I'll just set that to an integer. If you've got images you want to add, you can also add images. So I do have some images, so I will add that in here. So I'll set it to an image. For performance, we will actually set this to a texture 2D, but I'm going to set it to a soft object reference. So it's not loaded in memory until we specifically tell it to. And now the final thing is you want some way of storing whether or not this upgrade should be granted to the player. So as I said, we're going to use gameplay tag. So just to make sure you've got it installed, go to edit plugins and search for gameplay tag, and you need the gameplay tags editor. If you've got that, you're all good. But if you're using something like gas, then you could potentially put the ability here and then store that on your game instance to say grant it, or you can mix it with gameplay tags. Or if you've got special integers or something like that, then you could potentially just have an integer here saying upgrade amount and store both the upgrade name and the amount. There's loads of different ways to do it, but I'm going to go with the gameplay tags. So I'll come here and say upgrade tag. And I'm just going to add a simple gameplay tag like so. And then we can Control-Shift-S to save. Now I can come back to my blueprints folder, create a new folder called Datatables. And then I will right-click Miscellaneous Datatable. I will search for my S player upgrades. And I'll call it DT_player upgrades. And I'll open this up. So now I can add my first row. I will give it a name of Health Boost. The description grants the player more health to last longer. The price, I will say it will cost 5 D3 coins. For my image, I have these fantastic artworks. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know what you believe. I am not a professional artist. But we have the health increase stickman, where he's muscled up because that's what relates to health in the Flash era. We have the super speed with the anime lines and the probably crack level Flash eyes. We have the super jump where every single line tornado thing has just gone out the window. And we also have the super cat vision where you can see the skeleton of a dog in a box. Because, yeah, really. Just yeah. So we will apply the health image here. And then I will drop the arrow down and I will click the plus icon here. I will call it upgrades dot, and then the dot represents an inner value. So upgrades dot health increase. I'll call it health boost, the same thing, why not? And then for the source, I will just drop it down and select my default gameplay tags and click add. And you'll see it's added it here. So make sure you tick health boost like that. And there's our first one. I'm going to add the 4 that I'm going to be doing. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I now have the health boost, which grants the player more health to last longer. The sonic speed, which makes the player run much faster. The Italian jumper, which makes the player jump much higher. And the cat vision, which makes the player see in dark, spooky areas. So now that we've got all of these, let's go and build up our shop dynamically. So it just generates all these products down here so we can click buy and such like that. So I'm going to come back to my UI folder and I'm going to right click user interface and choose widget blueprint, use a widget, and I will call this WB_shop upgrade, and I'll open it up. For this, I will add a canvas panel into it. I will also add a text element, which I'm going to duplicate inside of it because that'll be our name, our description, and our price. So I'll duplicate 3 times. I will also come and add a image property into it, and I will also add a button, which equally will have another text element inside of it, like so. So we have kind of just data dumped everything in there, but that's completely fine because that's what we want. So I'm going to grab the image first, and I'll just assign a basic image so we know what we're working with. So I'll come and select my speed image like so. I've set all my images to be about 256 by 256, so we'll work with that for now and we'll see how it looks on the shop. So I will grab the image and just call it upgrade image. For the next one, I will set this to the name, so this can be super speed, and we'll rename this to upgrade name, and we'll make sure it's a variable as well. We'll do the same for the description, so upgrade desk, some long product description, and then finally for the price, so we'll call this upgrade price, and we'll just set it to something like, I don't know, D35, something like that. And now we can start organising this how we want. I'm thinking we'll do something a little like Amazon, where we have the big product and we have the name. All this will be replaced with the description and the price, something like that. So if we're going based on that, I'm going to wrap all of this in a horizontal panel. So I'll highlight it all, wrap with horizontal box. And that'll put it all across to the side, which is almost what we want. I'll make sure the image is at the top of it, so it's on that side. Then I will grab the name, description, and price. I will wrap that with a vertical box. And then with some reorganization of this, yeah, we'll keep it like that, I think. I'll make sure the description can auto-wrap itself so it actually goes down because that'll work okay. I'll just do some basic editing. So like I'll make the title the biggest thing on the page. So I'll make that like 30 or something. The price will probably be the next biggest thing. So we'll make that 25. And the description can be something like 20, and it doesn't need to be bold. I do have a custom font that I want to use. That's just one that I've made myself using the Calligrapher website. So I'll come and assign that to it. There we go. That looks flash-like, doesn't it? I'll make sure the horizontal box is ticked to size to content so it sizes everything properly like so. We can add some spacing, and of course you can take as much or as little time as you want on this. With Flash games, typically you were limited with the technology you had at the time anyway. So it's not like you can go... It's not like they could have gone super well with it because you also had download speed to adhere to. And then for the button, I'll rename this just to BTN Buy. And I'll make this so it just sits in the middle. It doesn't need to be a huge one. I'll set the text to... I don't know. Spend D3 coin. Yeah, something like that. I'll give it a bunch of padding so it sits across to the side some more. Yeah, something like that. I think that'll work. So I'll hit compile and save. And you'll notice that it's massive on the screen. If you just come back to fill size and choose desired, to fill screen and choose desired, it'll show you what size it'll be on the game. And just to add some space, I'll put some padding on the right as well. And now it puts it in the middle like so. So if we go back to the shop here, inside the scroll box, if we wrap the image with a overlay, so we can put things on top of it, and then just inside the overlay, if we add a vertical box, that's where we'll be able to spawn all of our shop items. There we go. So for the vertical box, I'll rename it to VB Upgrades, and I'll just place this just probably in the middle, I think. And to help with positioning, we can just drop our shop upgrade inside of the vertical box. We'll clear this out when we dynamically render it anyway. So if we check it out, so it is sat right there, which is briefly okay. But if we come in and select the vertical box, we can roughly play with the padding or add a size box anyway to basically put it in the right position. So I'm going to come and set the left to something like 200, 180. I'll set the top so it starts a lot lower, to about 270, and then I will set the right to equally match it, and we'll basically just keep tweaking the values until we roughly get what we want. I have noticed all our text is in white, and that is not going to work on a white old school web page, so I'll just come and set the text to black. That's red. There we go. Back on the shop, if we click back on the upgrade, you can see we can now see it, but it's hanging off, so we just need to fix the sizing of it. I do think the image is a little large for what we need, so what I will do is I will come back to the horizontal box here, and I'll just set the image as X and Y to be 128 by 128, so it's about half. Let's see what that looks like. And it is really just tinkering with it until we can get it in line. What I might do for the button is spend D3 coin. I will put on 2 lines to shorten it a little bit. I'll also come and adjust all the text sizes to be something a lot smaller than they are. So, for example, I'll set this to 20. Then I can set the price to something like 15. Set the description to something like 12. And then this button doesn't need to be 24. It can be something like 15 again. But now we should have reduced our overall size of it. So you can see it all fits on nicely like so. We could even come and tell it to fully stretch a line if we really wanted to. And then you can see we've got a gap here, so let's give this middle bit some more space. So I'll come and select the vertical box and I'll just tell it can fill the space. It'll take up as much space as it physically can, and then on the button I'll just tell it can be right aligned as best it can. Then one last optimization thing we can do is we can just delete the canvas panel. We don't actually need it because everything's self-contained in the horizontal box. And with that, it looks pretty decent on our screen like so. So what you can imagine is we can come in and we can duplicate a bunch of these like that, and we should in the game be able to scroll up and down with them. One last little thing I will do is I will add some padding to the bottom just so it pushes whichever's underneath it away from it. So I'll just come to, say, the upgrade image, and I will just add some padding at the bottom of like 20. So it looks like it's taking up useless space there, but when we come back to the shop, if we add another upgrade right next to it, you'll see it pushes it down a little like so. You can add borders and everything, whatever you really need to. And if you come up and click this little grid button here, you'll see what it looks like without anything clicked on, like so. So you can see all the images are there, and we'll be able to come in and click the buttons. So now that we've got all of that there, let's make it so we can actually change what each upgrade is. So at the moment we've hard-coded it here. So I'll come back to the graph, and I'll delete the event tick. I'll create a variable called upgrade, and I will use our structure that we created earlier for our player upgrade here, and I will come and mark it as instance editable and expose on spawn. And what this means is if you hit compile, we can select the upgrade in here if we really wanted to. So I'll just come and put some dummy data in, so test description, put a fake price in, and we can put a fake image in just for now. And what this means is we can drag this upgrade out, and on pre-construct and construct, we do pre-construct because it'll run in the editor. We can break off of this and set all of our individual elements from this. So if we grab upgrade name and do set text, we can plug it into there, plug it over to there. For the description, we could do the same thing, set text, and you're basically going to set the text for everything really. It's probably better to use the set text function because I believe it'll do some Unreal bits. It gives you the option to at least. Like so, instead of the variable for the text, we can come and set the price. We can just drop this down to get the rest of them. This will automatically convert itself to a text, which is completely fine. We're okay with that. For the image, we need to async load it, but Unreal actually contains something for this. If we just drag our image in, we can actually do set brush from soft texture, and we can just plug the soft reference directly in it, and the image will take care of it for you, which is a fantastic addition. Finally, just make sure you connect the pre-construct to the first one as well, so it works in the editor. But if we come back to our shop and select our first upgrade, you'll now see it's all upgraded to what it is. If we come and change the image, for example, to super speed, it will change dynamically, just how we want it. The price we can come and change to 20 and it will upgrade. So now when we loop over our upgrades and we spawn them in, they will automatically spawn correctly, which is perfect. So the last thing we'll do on our shop upgrade is for the price, I do want to keep the method that I set it, so we'll just make some space. I'll drag this text out. For the in text, I'll drag backwards and do format text. I will say D3 coin colon, then curly brace, I will type price and close the curly brace, and now I can connect the price to it like that. And all that's going to do is format it nicer for us. Like so, you can see D3 coin, 20 coin. There we go. So let's actually make the click event for the button, and then we can move on to dynamically spawning them. So for the button, we will click the button. We'll add an event of onClicked here. When it's clicked, what do we want to do? We want to tell the shop that we've purchased it, so the shop can control everything. It's just a nicer way of doing it. You could have each individual button take care of what it's doing, but then you've got many dynamic elements on the screen all trying to add and remove abilities. Whereas if we just make the shop do it, you've got one point of failure if something goes wrong. So what we're going to do on here is add an event dispatcher called onClicked, and we'll add an input to this of the upgrade so we know what upgrade is being pressed. And we'll set this to a type of S-player upgrades. And we'll also return the button itself so we can tell it to disable itself, so after it's been updated. So we'll come back and do WB shop upgrade, and we'll return itself like so. And now all we do is drag down the onClicked, click call, connect it together, drop the upgrade in and connect it to the upgrade, and drop the button in and type self like so. And that will activate the button click. You can, of course, go in and add some hover effects to this if you really want. So what I'll do is just come in and say, when you hover over it, it's going to do the default Unreal thing, so that's fine. So if we actually just compile and test this now, just to see if it's all working, you can see we can scroll up and down the website. We can click the buttons to spend the coins, and then we've got our upgrades listed appropriately. So let's dynamically spawn them in. So back on the shop, we will promote the VB upgrades to a variable and go to the graph. Then we will create a function just to keep it tidy called load upgrades. Then what we'll do is we'll drag in the VB upgrades. We'll simply clear all the children first because we don't actually need to keep anything in there for development. Then we will drag off. We'll do get data table row names, and the data table is our upgrades. we will for each off of this to loop over all of the rows in the data table. From here, we will do get data table row, and the data table we will simply set to the player upgrades and not connect it together, meaning now we have our upgrade there. So what do we want to do with the upgrade? Well, if the row is found, which it will always be because we're looping over it, we can come in and type create widget. We will spawn our shop upgrade, and you'll notice that before we ticked upgrade as instance editable in the variables and expose on spawn, meaning we can now connect the out row directly to the upgrade like so, passing it straight in. After that, we can grab the VB upgrades and we can simply call add child, and we can connect the return value to the content like so. And that is pretty much it. That will spawn all the upgrades in. So if we compile and save, go back to the event graph, drag in the load upgrades, we can connect that just to the construct. We don't want the pre-construct or event tick, otherwise it'll be a bit glitchy. And now if we come and play it, you will see it will load all of our different upgrades in. How cool is that, ladies and gentlemen? But we actually need to bind to the click events so we can actually make it work, because otherwise it's not going to actually do anything. So back on our shop upgrade, what we will do, back on our shop, inside the load upgrades, once we've spawned the button, I'm going to drag off of it and I'm going to do bind on clicked, and it'll give us the clicked custom one that we've created, the event dispatcher. On the event, we'll drag off and do create event, and it'll give us a long one where we can drop down and just do create matching event. We'll cut this and paste it on the event graph so it's in a nice place. We'll rename it to upgrade button clicked. Back on our load upgrades, we'll just make sure we reselect that. It's already done it for me, so that's all good. But now we've got when the button is actually clicked here. So if we drag off the upgrade and do break, we now have the upgrade tag that we actually need to apply to whatever we do. So this is where we need to start thinking how we want it to actually apply the upgrades to the player, and how we actually check whether they've got it or not. Because if they've got it, then we can mark this as something different, like we cross it off, don't show it, something like that. So as I said at the beginning of the tutorial, you can use a save game editor if you want, or you can use the game instance, something like that. I'm going to use the game instance because old school Flash games, you didn't really have a save. This game's not got the need to have a full save system. And for most games, a game instance will be completely fine. And then, worst case, you can make them call save later and just save all the info from the game instance anyway. So, I'm going to come back to my content drawer inside my blueprints. I'll right click, blueprint class, and I'll create a game instance. You very well may already have one, and that's completely okay. I'll select a game instance and click select. I'll call it GI_ main game instance. Call it anything you want. And I'll open it up. I'll then go to edit project settings because we need to tell our game this is the instance we use. Click maps and modes. And then right at the bottom, you will see game instance. So we can set this to our GI main game instance like that. That's all you need to do. Back on our game instance, now we can store our variables. So this is where you'll store your booleans if you have it, your gameplay tags, anything like that. So I'm going to add a variable of players upgrades. And I'm going to set this, because I'm using gameplay tags, to a gameplay tag container, which is basically multiple gameplay tags. And I'll hit compile and save. So for good coding, we are going to create an interface to actually modify this, because we shouldn't be casting all over the place. So back in our blueprints folder, we'll create a new folder called interfaces. And don't worry if you've never used interfaces before, they are super, super easy. Simply come in and do a new blueprint interface. Call it BPI game instance and open it up. Name all your functions in here. So we need a get and a set for the player upgrades. So we'll do get player upgrades. And then this will have an output of upgrades. And it'll be a type of gameplay tag container. Like so. And then we will also do a set player upgrades where we simply pass it into it saying new upgrade. But instead of a gameplay tag container, we'll just do a gameplay tag because we don't need to be setting multiple at once. There we go. And you may be wondering, what's the point of an interface? So I will quickly show you because it's super easy. So say on this shop here, we need to get the game instance. So we can just simply do right click, get game instance, which is built into Unreal. But then we can't get our player upgrades. It won't let us. It will from the interface, but it won't normally let us. So what you'd normally have to do is cast it to the GI main game instance like so. And from here, we can simply do set player upgrades like that. And it'll ask for us to pass it a upgrade tag. The tag we want is our new tag like so. We can just connect it straight in. Boom. I'll click this break and click hide unconnected pins just to make it a bit neater. And then we can take this button and, well, we really need to tell this button that we've bought it or it has been bought before. So back on the shop upgrade in here, we just need a way to tell this button, you've been purchased, don't worry about it. So I think I'll go the old school flash route, a big cross across it, always looks really nice. So what I'm going to do is come into the vertical box and I will add a overlay. And then I will make it actually overlap everything like that. And I will apply my sold image here. Like that. Sold. Boom. And I'll just rename it to IMG sold. And then by default, I'm just going to come in and tell it that it is invisible. So visibility we will set to collapsed. And I'll hit I'll also make it hidden there so we can see it. I'll hit compile and save. Then back in our shop upgrade here, we will add a custom event called set as sold, which we will simply go and grab the IMG sold and set it to visible. You might be thinking, why don't we just set it to visible itself? You could do, but having it as a separate function means all the different places we need to modify it is in one place. So for example, when we first spawn the button, we need to mark it as sold if it's already been sold. But equally, when we buy it, we also need to mark it as sold. So now we've got multiple places to handle it. So back in the shop, once we've bought it, we can just drag down here, press R to make some gaps, and we can do set as sold, like so. We'll hit compile and save. And then the only other one we need to do is actually check if the player already has it, and if they do, mark it as sold when we come in. So when we come into shop upgrade here, when we're loading the details here, what we can do is right click and do get game instance. We can do get player upgrades, and then we can drag off of the tag container and we can say, does it have a tag? And the tag we want to match is our upgrade tag here. So press R to make some nice lines and connect it to the tag like so. We will tick as exact match, which means it can't do half a tag. So for example, if I come in here, if the player just has upgrades for some example, it won't allow it. It's got to be exactly Italian jumper, for instance. So we'll connect that back up to tag there. If it's true, so we'll connect it up to there, we will just simply set as sold, like so. So it means we can't click it, we can't do anything. Compile and save. So now we've got our shop upgrade working nicely there. We've got our shop here, which we will need to eventually check the player's currency to see if they've got enough. But for now, we should be able to come to the shop and run it. And now you can see when we run it, we can see all of our upgrades here. If I click run, if I buy it, it will basically mark it as sold like that. So one thing I think will be nice is if it hides the button. You know, you've bought it, you don't need to see the button even though you can't click it. We don't want to tempt the user. So because we've made it as one single location, it's actually really easy to do. We can just come back to the graph down here. We can grab the BTN buy, set visibility of it, and we can set it to collapsed. You could even destroy it if you really wanted to. It's not going to matter. It's not that big. Boom. It's now bought. But that's it. That looks much nicer now, doesn't it? There we go. We've bought everything from our Amazon thing. So next we actually need to make it so it actually does apply these to the game instance, because at the moment we're just calling this interface but we've not applied it or implemented it. Super simple. Come back to the game instance here and then go to class settings to add the interface to the game instance and search for our BPI game instance. And then in the interfaces here, just double click get and apply the player upgrades to it. Double click the set, then drag the player upgrades in, drag off and do add gameplay tag and connect the tag to it like so. There we go. And that's literally it. We've now connected it all together. We are now saving the player upgrades in there. So when we go back to the game, we can actually start using them and implementing those abilities. And then when we come back, it should lock the shop up. So as a test, let's make sure if it does lock the shop. By default, I'm going to apply an ability tag of cat vision and Italian jumper. So you can see it there. If I hit compile and save and come back in, it should, there we go, mark them to as already sold, meaning it's working perfectly. So the final thing I'm going to do before we do move on to implementing the abilities is we need a way to actually get off of this screen and show the player how much they actually have. So what I've done is I've actually made a custom version of this with little post-it notes we can use, because I think that'll be really flash-like. So you can see we've got a lovely big post-it note pinned into it, which we can just put the player's money onto it, saying how much crypto they've got. And then I'm thinking we could just click the little button here. Dead basic stuff. So I will come and import this into the game. So I've put this in my sprites folder. I'll just paste in. I've got a new image now. We could remove the other one, but I'll do that later. That's fine. And then back on the shop, instead of having this one alone, we can come and add the Famazon post-it version. There, so we've now got the post-it notes. So you might be thinking, how are we going to position it and everything? Super simple, because we've got a canvas panel. We can technically just have things floating, really. So I'm going to come and add a text element, and we will just grab this and literally move it like so. So super simple. We're going to anchor it to the bottom middle of the screen. Is probably the nicest place to do it. And then we're going to move it. We'll move it below the background so it's on top of it, and we can just position it right here on the post-it note, and we can just expand it out just so we've got enough room. And we will say current D3 coin colon, we'll do a new line and I'll put 0 like so. We can set the font like so. White is really not doing it well for us, so we'll add it like so. We could even skew it a little if we wanted to, just to make it match up a little bit like so. And then I'm going to center align it just like so. And then I may scroll down to the transform and just rotate it a tiny bit, just so it's more following the post-it notes like so. Current D3 coin 0. There we go. So we can upgrade that. Look at that. Doesn't that look really flash-like, which I do like. So we'll rename this to txt current coin. And then in the graph up here, we'll make it is visible. Then in the graph, I'll just add a event down here, custom event called update coin. And now this is another one where you need to decide where you're getting your coin amount from. If you're saving your game in between, you can do it that way. However, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to modify my current coin and add it to the interface instead. So I'll come in and add a variable called current coin. I'll set it to an integer, and then I'll come back to my interface and I'll do the two functions again. So I will do get player coin, where the return is the coin, and that'll be an integer. And then I will do a set. I'm actually going to do an update player coin, because we never really want to set the player's amount, because we can easily just remove and add to it as we need to. It's easier than taking the value around and modifying it in a lot of places. We can just modify it in one set place. And then we will simply take an input of new value to add, and that'll be an integer. Back on our game instance, we will double click the get player coin, where we'll return the coin. And then on the update player coin, we will simply get the current coin, add to it the value add, and then set the current coin. Now you might be thinking, what if you want to remove from it? That's completely okay. If you add a value to current coin of negative, so -2, it will remove it from the current coin, just like that. So back on our shop here, update coin, we can simply get the game instance, and we can do update player coin, and we can connect the value to add into it like that, so it passes it along. Again, another little nice place we can put it. Up here, on the clicked, when we click the upgrade button, we can drag in our update coin to the end of it when we know it's sold, and we can simply get the upgrade, click this, open the default category, and add our price back in, where we can now connect it up to the price like so. So now that'll take the current coin down, which is perfect. Whilst we're here, we can actually check whether we've got enough. So I'll bring this across a little bit. I'll make some more spaces to make it look a bit nicer. Drag this back a bit. And what I think will be really nice, something I've been using, is macros. So let's create a new macro to check whether or not the player's got enough coin. So we're going to create a macro, because it'll save us doing a branch as well. And I'll call it check player can afford. For the input, I will simply add an exec pin. So I'll call it exec, and it'll be a type of exec. That's your little lines there. I will also add the cost to it, which will be an integer. And then on the output, I will add a exec again, saying can afford, which will be a exec. And then I'll add another one saying cannot afford, which will also be an exec like so. So what we can do is we can go and get the game instance, and then we can get the player's coin like that to say how much they've got. Then from here we can say if the player's coin is more than or equal to the cost, it means they've got enough. So we can connect that to the true because they can afford it. If they can't, then we'll connect it to the false like that. But what doing it here means as a macro is now back on our event graph, we can literally just drag in the can player afford like that. We can connect the cost into it. And if they can afford it, we go there. So we can wrap that in a comment saying buy the upgrade. If they can't afford it, then we can show some message or something somewhere. I don't know, we'll do big text up here. That seems very flashy, doesn't it? You don't have to do this if you really don't want to. You can do anything you want to alert the player. But what I'm going to do is just anchor this to the very top, like so. We will make sure it's at the bottom of everything so it shows on top of it, like so. We will type in, you don't have enough D3 coin. I'll set it to size to content. I'll probably position it down by 50 by 20 or something. I'll set the text to I'll set the font and I'll set it to black, center align it. We could even make it a bit bigger, so I'll set it to like 36. You do not have enough D3 coin. Yeah, something like that. I'll rename the widget to tx not enough coin, make it as a variable. Then by default, I will make it invisible, so collapsed. Then back on our graph, if they don't have enough, then we can get them not enough coin. We can make it set. Then we can set the visibility to non-hit testable because we don't want it blocking anything even if it some happens to move down, like so. If they have got enough, then we can just come up here and we can just hide it again, collapsed like so. You could also add a timer here if you really want to hide it after. I'm not going to do that. Now the only other thing we've got to do is update the D3 coin. Super simple because we've already done it. On our event construct where we load the upgrades, all I'm going to do is grab our txt current coin, drag off and do set text, click the function, connect it up. Then I will drag this across a little. I'll add in our get player coin call, so our game instance to get player coin. And then on the in text, I will drag down and do format. Then I will do current coin, D3 coin, colon, shift enter to add a new line, curly brace, coin, close curly brace. And we can connect it up like so. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That in theory should be our shop. So if I come and play it now, you can see current D3 coin is 0. I've already bought some, but if I buy this, it'll say you do not have enough D3 coin. There we go. And if I were to add more D3 coin, we could go in and buy it. So the final thing we need to do is just make it so we can exit. So all I'm going to do is come and add a button, add it to the bottom so it's just under everything. I'll give it some text just so we can actually see it. Then I'll grab the button, I will center align it probably to the middle again, the bottom middle, and then we can move it up just so it sits on the power button just like so. It may get distorted with the screen scaling, but we'll have to test that. The text, I will just set... Actually, I'll delete the text. I don't want it. I'll call it BTN power off. And then I'll probably just resize this just so it matches the power button a little. And then what we can do is we can come in to the normal and I will grab the tint and just massively reduce the tint. Not enough that it's invisible, but enough that you can see where you've got to click, like so. So when we click it, it should power it off. All we have to do is add a click event where we now say open level by object reference, and we can simply go back to, in my case, the third person map like so. So if we were to try the shop now, if we were to see the power button, you can see it's there. It's very bright. If we click it, boom, it takes you into the map like so. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is our shop complete. The only thing what's left now is we will clear the upgrades from our game instance so we don't start off with them. And then let's jump back into the third person game. Here we go. So if you've not seen this yet, all it is a bunch of signs with some pane volumes. As you go across, it needs to actually get you all the way to the end, but each step you need to have an upgrade in order to get past it. So this one you can't get past without upgrading your health, which is the cheapest one. This one you need to get speed so you can run through it before the timer ticks and you burn more, because that's how lava works. This one you're going to need to jump up loads more, and then this one completely decks your vision. As you can see when you go in, you can't go in there, and there's a bunch of lava volumes in there before you get to the winning place. So I've already got my setup on here, whereas if I play the game, I can walk around, I can pick D3 coin up, and I've got some epic sounds as I showed at the start of it. If I walk over to here, I will die, and then dead. At the moment, it respawns us back into the game, like so, and we lose everything. But that's not what we want. We need to transition most of it to the game instance now, which is easy. So I've stored my coin on my player. So this is your health, your coin, whatever you want to transfer. So instead of current D3 being here, what I'm going to do is get the game instance. Then I will simply drag off and do set the coin. Then I will do a update player coin. We can connect it up to here. We don't need this set anymore, or the plus, because we can just connect it straight into the value just like that. The text here is just the update to update the UI, which is perfectly fine. So what we can do down here is just do get player coin. So after it's updated it, we can move it across and we can plug it in instead of the current D3. And then I can delete the current D3 variable because I've stored it on my game instance. Equally, remember, you can keep it here if you want to. You just need to call save and set up a save system. I've got a tutorial for that if you do need it. So all we need to do is also reset this on the player start. So as soon as I spawn the UI here, so all I'm going to do is replicate all of this down here where I set the coin amount. I'll just do it up here like this. Now, somebody asked me the other day if I would use interfaces on your widgets. Probably, yeah, it would be a nicer way of doing it so you don't have to pass around a reference to the player's HUD everywhere. But in this instance, just to quickly get the demo up and running, I've not done it, but normally an interface will be good. So here we can just do set default coin, and now you'll note that once we pick up a coin, if we go and run into the lava, after we respawn, we should successfully keep the one coin because it's stored in the game instance. There we go. Perfect. Of course, if you want a separate level to get to the shop, a bit like Bloodborne, whereas if you die, you lose it all, then just don't use the game instance or reset it on death. That's up to you. So, when you die, we need to teleport to the shop. So I'm going to come to my player and find where they die. So that's this any damage. And all I do is take the current health down, check, update the UI. When it's less than 0, I play the boo sound, I play an animation, I set a timer after ragdolling them, and then I move to the third person map. But in this case, I want to move to the shop, like so. So now if we come and collect this coin right in front of us, and then if I die, oh, that was a funky one. But now we should be transported to the shop with one coin. There we go. We can't afford anything, so it'll just tell us you can't afford anything, but we can click this to recycle back into the game. You'll notice we can't do anything. That's often a common issue when you're going between UI mode and non-UI mode. Super simple. Just come into your level blueprint. On event begin, just get the player controller and set to game mode only. And we can flush the input. We can also drag off the player controller and do show UI, show mouse cursor. Set show mouse cursor and we'll untick it to hide it, like so. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we should have a seamless loop between the game, picking up coins, and then dying into the shop. Like so. We can now come in, we can't spend anything, we click the power button, we go back into the game to carry on mining coins and farming coins, really. So, we're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. All we need to do now is actually apply the abilities. So if I come and collect enough coin, so I can actually buy an ability. So how do we actually go about applying the abilities? So if you make your shop so it can apply the ability in the middle of the game, you'll need to do this a little bit differently. But for me, as soon as you come into the level, it needs to apply the ability. So that's super simple. What I'm going to do is on my player here, after we've event begin loaded everything, we've showed the HUD, we've displayed the current coin, what I can do here is I can create a new function called set player upgrades, and then it's basically going to be a series of branches almost. So if you were using gameplay abilities, you could just apply the ability and it would automatically apply it. For gameplay tags, we can't do that. So what we're going to do instead is get the game instance. Then I will drag off of this and I will do get player upgrades. So this will get us all of the tags they've got. From here, I can drag off and do break gameplay tag container, which will give us all the tags. I can then loop over it. And then this is the only disadvantage of using something like this. This is exactly what the gameplay ability system was created for. We're going to have to kind of check each one of these. So if I say equals equals here, so if I come down and do a switch here, what I can basically do is add in all of the gameplay tags that we need to check. So cat vision, health boost, Italian jumper, and sonic speed for me. They're all of mine. You can always, of course, and then of course, if you have your integer section or your booleans or whatever, you basically loop over it and apply whatever you need. So for me, if it's the cat vision, I want to come over to here and I want to delete this post-processing because I've got a post-processing volume here that nukes your vision. If I just add a tag to this called cat vision zone, what I can do in my third-person character, for mine at least, is I can get all actors with tag, my cat vision zone. I'll just loop over them all, just in case there's multiple, and I can simply call destroy on them all to wipe them all out. So if I've got the cat vision ability, it will remove the zones that require it. Equally, you can apply some special ability if you need to. Next, for the health boost, I'm going to come down to the current health, and I'm going to come and set it to something larger. So I'll set it to something like 30, because by default I think it's 10. So we've now got 3 times the health. For the Italian jumper, I will just get my character movement, and I believe we just set the jump velocity, I think. I've not done this in a long time, so I'll set this to something ridiculous. I think it's like 600-700 by default. Set it to 1000. And then finally, sonic speed. This one I do know. We can just come off and set the max walk speed, and I don't know what it is by default. Walk speed 500, so we'll set it to something like 1500, so 3 times the speed. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit flaky, and if you have a lot of upgrades, I do suggest looking at the gas ability, because then what you can do is have abilities that automatically activate when you've got a gameplay tag, and then all you do is apply the tag to the player. So we've got the set player upgrades. Right here, we can just do set player upgrades. And ladies and gentlemen, that should be it. So I'm just going to add a couple more sounds to the game and then we can start. So I was actually going to exclude this from the tutorial, but it does make sense. So what I want is when you come in to the shop here, it says welcome to Famazon, or like a welcoming thing, like a shopkeeper almost. So on the construct, all I'll do is just type play sound 2D, and I'll add in my shop sound I've got somewhere. There we go, welcome to Famazon. So I'll add the welcome to Famazon there. When you purchase something, I want him to go woohoo, because I've got sounds for that as well. So when the upgrade is bought here, again, I will just drag off and do play sound 2D. The sound I will play will be the wind sound, why not? There we go. So after the wind sound, the only other thing we've got to do is actually update the player's coin. So where we call update coin here, we should probably update the amount of coin. So I'm going to copy this bit here. I'm actually going to cut this bit down here. I'll add a custom event down here called update UI coin, and I'll paste this here because we actually do it in 2 places. After we update the coin, we want to update the UI coin, and then as soon as the game loads, we also want to update it like so. Save copying and pasting. Then the only other thing we need to make sure, something that I've just noticed, on the data table, just make sure that your prices are negative, because otherwise you will add to the player's coin, which we don't want to do. But when we pick the coin up, we do want to do it that way. There we go. Then the final bug, which would hopefully allow us to actually test the game fully, is if you come back to the macro. Here currently we are getting the player's coin, which will be say 10 or 1, and we're taking the cost and saying is it more than. But we can't say is the player's coin, which is 10, is it more than or equal to -1, because that's not going to work, because the cost is always negative. So instead, simple fix, just on this little bit here, take the cost, multiply it by -1, and then connect that back up and check that. All that'll do is reverse it, because if you remember, multiply two negatives together makes a positive. So if we have -5 multiplied by -1 will become 5. Is the player coin more than 5? Yes, allow them to buy it. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we should now be able to test it in full. So if we play it, you can see, reach the end of the level, do not die. Okay, so a big jump on that one. Oh no, we took damage that one, so that's not a good sign. Oh my god, another D3 crypto. We'll collect all the coins in this area so we can hopefully afford an upgrade. There we go. Well, we definitely can't get across that way. That way, maybe we could actually. So what we can do is we can come up here, jump across to here. We might just be able to make this one. Let's see if we can. Nope, definitely dead. But that's completely fine. So we've died. Let's come back into the game.
Welcome to Famazon.
There we go. So we've got 3 coin here. Let's see. We can afford that one. Woohoo! There we go. We have now bought it. We can't buy anything else, so we'll just go back to the game. Then we can recollect these coins so we can actually stock up a little bit. But we already know we've got bigger health, so we can get to the more money section. So you can see it's going to take a while for it to hurt us now, which is good because we've upgraded our health. So let's collect more coins because the next upgrade I think was 10. And of course you could collect more down there. So that one we can't actually get to yet. We're going to have to wait for the bigger jump to get those ones. So there's a couple around here we can get. So you know cross, maybe you die, maybe you need to run quicker, so we're not going to be able to get this one. But we can try. We might actually get across. So we did actually get across, so that's good then. So this one is, you'll need to get Mario style. It's too long for us to get it. So we can get as many coins here as we can. So let's see how far we can get. Oh no, I literally just bottled it again. I bottled that one. That's fine. So we come back, we've got 15 coins. So should we get the Sonic Speed or the Italian Jumper? Let's get the Jumper one, because the Speed would probably work as well. So we can come back. And now, if we jump, oh yeah, look at that. Now we can really clear some distances. Let's get some... Oh no, I can't half jump. This is more annoying. Okay, let's run across here. Big bounce. Well, we still landed in it, but we're still good. So we'll collect some coins. We need 15 for the speed run, but we can get this coin here, which we couldn't get before, and this one. We'll collect these 4 while we're here, just because then we've got everything we need. And of course, I've just changed the jump value. You can legit set it to anything you need. Then I will come over to here. Then it will say I need to speed run across here, but I can hopefully jump and make it halfway across. Yeah, there we go. So we can come across to here. I can collect this coin. I can collect this coin. And this one is the Mario jump one. So we should be able to make all of these pretty easily. And if we don't, then we can at least get all the upgrades because we've got enough now. So of course with more gameplay trials you put the right amount of coins and stuff in. Oh, the lava was attacking me, that was too low. Oh, I died anyway, I forgot to jump. That's completely okay. So now we've got enough to come and get the 20 cat vision. We just haven't got enough for the Sonic Speed, so what I will do, just so we've got all the upgrades, let's just get some more, look. And then I will purposely jump into the lava and then wait a while for it to take us out. just so we can get the final upgrade for the game.
Welcome to Famazon.
Super speed. There we go. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we should be running through all of this like it's nothing, because we're super powered. End of the game, we have everything. We can Mario jump style over all this. It's nothing to us. We even get loads of coins back here, just in case. I've definitely put too many coins down there. But now this should allow us to see better, at least. Oh, so there's lava there. We definitely don't want to go that way because we're nearly dead now. I'm struggling at my own game. So if we follow the maze around, is it that way? Oh no, there's more lava there. We won't be able to see that without the cat vision upgrade. And there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have won a cookie. Woohoo! Woohoo! There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is game over. That is how you create a Flash-style arcade shop game. Tutorial's very long at this point, but it was absolutely worth it. I will put this game down in the description if anybody wants to have a play it. I'll put the source code on my Patreon if anybody does want to join and help support the channel. Then you can get all of this. You get my custom font, my logo coin, and the random sounds I make, as well as the Famazon sound things. Everything's going to be included because I did it this way purposely so we could. So thank you for watching. I hope this helped. If you run into any issues, please let me know and we'll run through all the fixes we can. The channel is growing very nicely now, and it's just going to keep growing from there. What upgrades would you attach to your game? Please let me know below. My name is Decryption, and I will see you next time.